Bertha Russell just built the most powerful social empire in New York, and season 4 might be the season she watches it all fall apart. George Russell, the man she built it with, already walked out the door once, and the trailer buzz suggests he might not be coming back this time. Their marriage, the one that survived scandal, bankruptcy threats, and a bullet, might finally be the thing that breaks them both. If you thought season 3 ended messy, wait until you hear what season 4 could be setting up. Let's start where season 3 left us, because everything about season 4 hinges on that final scene between Bertha and George. After surviving a shooting and a surgery performed without anesthesia on his own dining table, George Russell should have come out of that experience clinging to his family. Instead, he came out of it done. He told Bertha, flat out, that he could no longer watch her treat their children like pieces on a chessboard. He said he was ruthless in business, but never meant to be ruthless with the people he loved. And then he left for the Union Club without giving her a straight answer about whether he was coming back. That is not a man taking a break. That is a man reconsidering his entire marriage. Now, heading into season 4, the early buzz around the premiere suggests the writers are not walking this back quietly. If the first episode picks up with George still at the club, still keeping his distance, that tells us everything we need to know about where this season is headed. Bertha, meanwhile, ended the season on what looked like her biggest win yet. She threw the Newport ball that finally broke society's unspoken rule against welcoming divorced women. On paper, that is Bertha at the peak of her power. But peaks are dangerous in this show. The higher Bertha climbs socially, the more she seems to lose at home. And that pattern is exactly why so many fans think season 4 opens with Bertha discovering that her greatest social victory cost her the one relationship she actually needed. Here's what makes this even more interesting. Bertha and George were never just fictional creations. Bertha is loosely built on Alva Vanderbilt, and George blends real robber baron Robert Bacon Jr. with Alva's actual husband, William Vanderbilt, a man who cheated on her repeatedly, including trips to Europe with a mistress. In real life, Alva became the first woman of her social class to actually go through with a divorce, and that decision changed the rules for every woman who came after her. The show has been dropping hints toward this exact outcome all season, through the Aurora Fane divorce storyline and through Bertha's own ball breaking the divorce stigma. If season 4 opens with a trailer that shows George still absent, still cold, still unwilling to come home, that is not just tension for tension's sake. That is the show setting up its biggest historical parallel yet. There is where the theories get interesting, because most people assume George will be the one to end the marriage since he was the one who walked out. But if the show follows its own historical blueprint, that is probably not how it plays out. Alva Vanderbilt was the one who filed for divorce, not her husband. She was the one who decided enough was enough, even though staying quiet and staying married would have been the easier, safer choice for her reputation. If the show is building Bertha the same way, then season 4's opening episodes might actually show Bertha trying to win George back first. That would make sense with everything we know about her character. Bertha has spent 3 seasons proving that she does not lose, and losing her marriage publicly would be a direct hit to the image she has spent years constructing. So expect the early part of the season to show her softening, maybe even apologizing in her own controlled way, trying to convince George that things can go back to how they were. But here is the theory that makes this season genuinely gripping. What if George does not fully commit either way? What if he keeps Bertha hanging, coming home sometimes and staying distant other times, refusing to give her the clean answer she needs? That kind of slow unraveling would be far more painful to watch than a single dramatic fight. And it fits the show's pattern of drawing out emotional tension across an entire season rather than resolving it in one episode. If the trailer hints at George and Bertha appearing together in public, but distant in private, that is the clue to watch for. It would mean the marriage is being kept alive for appearances while it quietly falls apart behind closed doors, which is exactly the kind of slow-motion collapse that makes for the most dramatic television. And when Bertha finally does reach her breaking point, the theory goes that she will be the one who chooses to end things, not because she stopped loving George, but because she realizes she cannot keep performing a marriage that has already died. That decision would completely flip the power dynamic of this show. For 3 seasons, Bertha has needed George's money and his name to build her social empire. If she is the one who walks away first, that would mark the moment Bertha stops needing him altogether. And that is a genuinely huge shift for this character. If Bertha does end the marriage, the fallout would not stop with her. It would ripple through every single person connected to the Russell family, and that includes the people who depend on Bertha and George staying united. Think about Gladys first. She just married the Duke. She is pregnant heading into season 4, and George has already blamed Bertha for pushing that marriage forward in the first place. If the Russell marriage collapses at the same time Gladys is dealing with a difficult pregnancy across the ocean, the emotional weight on that storyline becomes almost unbearable. George has already shown he is capable of holding a grudge against Bertha over decisions involving their children. And if something goes wrong with Gladys, the theory is that George's resentment toward Bertha would move past anything we have seen from him before. This is not a man who forgives easily when it comes to his children. And losing a grandchild or watching Gladys suffer because of a marriage Bertha orchestrated could be the final blow that makes any reconciliation between George and Bertha completely impossible. Then there is the social fallout. Bertha built her entire reputation on being the woman who broke the rules and won anyway. If her marriage falls apart publicly, every single person she stepped on to get to the top of New York society would have a reason to turn on her. The same women who attended her Newport ball, smiling and pretending the old rules did not apply anymore, could be the first ones to whisper that Bertha's perfect image was never real to begin with. That kind of social knife twist is exactly what this show does best, and it would set up a genuinely brutal season for Bertha even as she gains a strange kind of personal freedom. The theory many fans are circling around is that Bertha's story in season 4 becomes less about winning and more about surviving, and possibly hitting a version of rock bottom before she rebuilds on her own terms. If that happens, the real twist is not that Bertha loses everything. It is that she comes back stronger without George, while George is the one left alone. Watching the family he built slip completely out of his hands, Season 4 is bringing in some genuinely significant new characters. And the way they connect to the story could hint at exactly where this season is headed. We already know a new Doctor character connected to William Kirkland is joining the cast, which likely means Peggy's storyline with William's disapproving mother is far from resolved. The synopsis already confirms Peggy will be trying to win over William's family, especially his mother, who still resents her over a past relationship Peggy once tried to keep private. Adding another medical figure into that mix suggests the show might be deepening William's world in a way that puts even more pressure on his relationship with his mother. And by extension, on his relationship with Peggy. Then there is the addition of 2 major historical figures, John D. Rockefeller and President Grover Cleveland. Bringing in real historical power players like this signals that the show wants season 4 to feel bigger, more consequential, and more tied to actual Gilded Age history than ever before. If George's business dealings intersect with someone like Rockefeller, that could raise the stakes of his professional life at the exact same moment his personal life with Bertha is falling apart, stretching him in 2 directions at once. And having a sitting president appear in the story suggests the writers want season 4 to feel like it is operating on a bigger stage. Not just within the drawing rooms of New York's elite, but out in the real halls of power. All of this lines up with something the cast has already hinted at. When asked to describe season 4 in a single word, the responses included sexy, ruthless, juicy, and fabulous. Those are not words you use to describe a quiet, safe season. Those are words that suggest the writers are leaning fully into drama. And the addition of real historical figures alongside a possible Russell marriage collapse tells us this season is being built to feel like the biggest one yet. So when does all of this actually arrive on screen? The Gilded Age was renewed back in July 2025, and filming began in February 2026 across New York City and Newport. Production is expected to wrap sometime this summer, and HBO has already confirmed a fall 2026